Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Heil. I have the YouTube channel Agrarian Schoolhouse. My background is in agricultural education, so I was trained to be an agriculture teacher for my bachelor's and did some research during my master's. And I thought to create community in this space, it would be neat to just share where we're at with our homeschooling at this time of year, and we can bounce ideas off of each other, homeschoolers, and what you're doing curriculum-wise. If something like seems like it stands out and you would add to a resource that I have in some way, please let me know in the comments below. That would be really cool to develop like-minded community in this space, and we'll just jump right in. So what we're working on this morning, we are very close to the last few chapters of On the Banks of Plum Creek. We read Little House on the Prairie last semester, and this has been our slow going read aloud. So we do a read aloud at bedtime that's different than this one. This one is a daytime read aloud, and it's more sporadic, which I think there's utility to that because my daughter's having to remember a storyline over a longer period of time, which I think is a neat way to develop memory. But we're almost done with this read aloud for our daytime read aloud. Okay, my daughter just finished her second book. This is my first lowercase book, but it's second in this Handwriting Without Tears series. I'll show you where you're starting at, your starting point. So in here you're doing pencil pickup work, but you're starting with reviewing your capital letters that your child has learned in the previous book, and then you are going all the way to lowercase letters. So my daughter just turned 4 at the end of January, so that is kind of the space that we're in as far as preschool, kindergarten-ish, as far as level. So this is the text that we're using, the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons for our reading work. So we started this textbook a long time ago, and we've been trucking along through it. We're about that far through, or that much to go at least. I started this when she was 3, when she had turned 3, kind of the beginning of the year of last January. So here we're still working on it. She is on lesson 78 or something like that of 100. So a couple thoughts about this textbook. What's neat, I think, to me about using a reading textbook is that we've been focusing on our reading in this book. There are sections of a reading work. I'll show you an example. So here's an example. So you have your reading practice in here. So we're not like hitting those easy reader books as heavily, but I think it's neat when you start seeing connections. So more recently, where she's started kind of trying to read her books that she likes to flip through and look at, easy reader, rectangular books that she really likes to get, and we read those at bedtime. But this is separate from those books. And what's neat is that like all of her reading lessons come from here, and then she can apply that in different reading scenarios. So is your 4-year-old or even 3-year-old child expressing interest in reading, constantly pretending to read and asking questions while you're reading? Do you want to develop a young reader or unsure how to do it? So I like that it's more geared towards early reading, learning, which is what we're doing here. Dimensions was the math resource that I was interested in trying out and seeing how it goes. This is like their semester's worth of kindergarten textbook and workbook, but the textbook is still like a workbook, so we still write in it. There are these two that we're not through yet, and my thought was completing kindergarten in a semester or kindergarten work, because we've already completed a different kindergarten workbook that I wasn't as happy with. So these were a really big hit at first, but then have kind of fizzled out. I could see getting just the workbook, not the textbook, but just the workbook as far as that workbook style math goes, using that along with Saxon, which is what we've also been using. We have the Saxon Math K, and you can see how far we are in that. But we started this. It's designated for this semester that we've started. I don't remember the exact start date, but this past spring semester. So we're working on, and it's hands-on learning. It's not so much a workbook style. So I could see pairing Saxon with, a workbook to get that workbook fix. But you don't really have to. For violin, my daughter's playing I think it's a 1/10 size violin, and we're doing that as like loose practice. So it's not like rigid, you must play this kind of thing, but we've laid a foundation of interest. So we've pointed out when there's violin playing, who has a violin, where it is, and in the real world, right? And then that's kind of laid a foundation for an instrument, this violin that she has. And right now we're just focusing on, I was working on tuning it, and she got to see the tuner on my phone, how that worked. Then playing longer and shorter notes. So like a longer da 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 da, and then a shorter da 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 da. So getting more familiar in a very introductory way. Let's see what else. We have math, reading, writing, our literature reading. So I can talk to you about our bedtime reading as far as a book. She gets to pick picture books, but then also I will read from a novel of sorts. So we've read a couple of the scrolls, the Adventures of the Lost Scrolls series. We have read some of the Boxcar Children series. I'm thinking about starting the Narnia series with her. We've read one of the illustrated classics versions of The Wind in the Willows, so not the actual full-blown Wind in the Willows, but one that has a lot of pictures through it, but still, I assume carries the storyline. That's where we're at. At this point, we haven't done much with history and science and social studies. Essentially, we haven't done a lot with that, different curriculums, incorporating that into the reading, like the literature piece, like reading historical or scientific type things. In the Charlotte Mason method, reading biographies, and so we'll probably incorporate that more later, but we're not even kindergarten yet, so we're very much in that preschool, kindergarten. But we've developed the habit of attention. So Charlotte Mason talks about habits. I assume you can develop the habit of attention in different ways, and people that'll argue like, oh no, you don't need to start school early. That's fine if it doesn't work for you. But I have found that doing lessons, short, high quality, dense lessons at a young age has helped develop the habit of attention in a learning and growing kind of way that really sets the foundation for doing more schoolwork in the future. One thing I'll do with the literature readings during the daytime to make sure she's paying attention and talking about the habit of attention. So I will read a sentence, and if it's a good I don't know, if it's a sentence where the last word makes sense to repeat, informs the context of the sentence, or it's just a memorable word, then I'll pause and say the first few words before the last word of the sentence, and then ask her what the last word of the sentence was. And sometimes she might surprise me as far as when she's really paying attention. So that's a cool way to check for attention for a 3 and 4 year old. So my daughter is 4, right? And we started doing this quite a few lessons ago, but I make a copy. So I make a copy of the sentence. So this is obviously a pretty long one, but there are shorter ones. We call them sentences, but they're really, short stories. So here's a shorter one, but I'll make a copy on the printer, and then you can see that she's already done this one. I'd say probably about 75% accuracy. I help her with words that she doesn't know. but she'll highlight underneath or draw the line underneath it as she's reading it. So it's instead of like your finger, you're incorporating the marker component. She likes art, and so that has helped her track along. More engaging than using your finger and just going across the page, you know, a large passage like that's been engaging for her. So we're not currently part of any formal co-op at this point. I have thought about classical conversations and think I'll get some of their curriculum as far as the memorization piece and how much memorization. I like the Charlotte Mason style of living ideas. And then you have those overarching ideas and then you support them with fact. Maybe less memorization driven. There is narration that you say back what you've read or heard or listened to. That's a big component of Charlotte Mason, but I'm interested in incorporating some memorization, but not maybe to the level of classical conversation. So though I don't have experience with it, I'm just speaking from my view of it at this point. And obviously you can tell if you haven't already, we don't update that date board or whatever as often. There's an emotion, there's a season, there's weather, there's the day of the week, and then the date of the month and the number of the day. So that's what we have going on here in my little homeschool, and I look forward to connecting with other like-minded moms that are interested in like early reading and early schooling development. We're a pretty academic and music focused family, and we have sprinkled in foreign language. So like we listen to Spanish and French in the car, and so they know how to count and some colors, and then they listen to a lot of Spanish and French audio. So we have the foreign language component. Though my husband and I are not bilingual, all under or using a biblical foundation for reasons why we homeschool, as well as curriculum, and so that's all for now. Comments below if you have any suggestions or what you found to be particularly helpful for 4-year-olds. So thanks.